And welcome in to another episode of Making a Mark wrestling show on the Too Many Points podcast. I almost fell asleep right then, but I'm going to wake back up and I'm going to get us going. We have to wake up. We have to talk about Elimination Chamber and the road to WrestleMania. A lot of the stories that we weren't quite sure where they were going. I think we got a lot of those answers during that pay-per-view on Sunday. So as much as I had time to fit this in, I knew we needed to get in here. We needed to talk about it. This was can't miss. Even if the results made Wade completely miss it. Wade decided not to watch Elimination Chamber, and that's why he's not here today. So instead, we just have Ethan Hrabe, and once again, for the second time, we got Nathan Stitt, a.k.a. Miss Amanda Love. How's it going, guys?
Going well.
It's good.
I mean, I know we need to do something to pick up this energy. This is what happens when you take the cocaine out of wrestling.
I think we'll get to something.
I think alcohol's a downer.
Well, you know what's weird? Like, that's what it's supposed to be, but that's when I'm up. So right now I'm sober, haven't drank in a while, and now I'm just
that's fair.
I'm just sitting here dying, just very tired.
Yeah.
Now, at some point that alcohol will knock me unconscious, and I'll keep walking around doing things. But for the beginning, hypes me up.
I also did for the show, which is a little more rare for me than it is for you, Mac, but still, I'm just gonna go off of God-given energy right now.
Yeah, we can do it. We got this. We'll make it through. So, did we already get a comment? Oh man, we got people in here. This is what happens when you bring on people that have watch what the comments.
Yeah, I didn't know
there should be something on there. There's a button that should make it pop up, but if you're on a phone, I don't know what it looks like.
Oh, it basically blocks y'all. I'll just close out of it.
Oh, Matt Cosgrove. Yeah, that's my good buddy who's gradually losing his mind and actually starting to live his wrestling gimmick of the arborist. So he might try to butt in on the comment section here and there.
Nice, perfect. So I was thinking this was somebody Nate was bringing in because we just had nobody show up until Nate showed up on the last one. So I just assumed that's what was happening. But to get started, I want to save the thing that upset Wade for not last, but like second. I think we'll start a little bit in chronological order of what happened in this pay-per-view. Obviously, the big setup, one of the Elimination Chambers, they just basically used as a way to feed Roman Reigns one more time before WrestleMania. And then as we found out by the result, basically one of the handful of choices we had as a good possible competitor to face Roman at this year's WrestleMania in case they didn't have one of our, superstar picks, one of our, dream matches that we know Vince is trying to line up being either John Cena, The Rock, or Brock Lesnar. And obviously, Daniel Bryan is the one who ends up getting the victory in that Elimination Chamber match, has to fight him basically immediately with Roman Reigns to get his title shot. I think that's good. I thought the only thing that took away from that story, which is great, like trying to reenact his Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania moment, was the announcers reminding us that was the WrestleMania moment. But other than that, I thought all of that played out really well. This is one where the fantasy booking, though, does make it hard for me to enjoy it because at the end, all I can think is, oh, yeah, that was a potential challenger for Roman Reigns, and now he already has the victory over Daniel Bryan. What did you guys think of the Elimination Chamber match and how all of that played out thereafter with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns going at it?
I enjoyed the way that they pulled everything off. I liked the match itself. I thought it gave Cesaro a good showcase to really. I think wrestling fans know that he's a singles star, but giving him just a time frame in a match like that to really show it was really good. I think moving forward, you'll see him more. At least I think in your Intercontinental title picture or something, rather than just floating around in the mid card like he's been. So that was good. And then also, just Roman Reigns coming out and crushing your Daniel Bryan hopes and dreams, and then the surprise spear from Edge being a good setup for Mania. As far as Daniel Bryan goes, I wouldn't mind seeing even if it's just a one-off, him versus Edge, try to play his way into the main event at like Fastlane. You could do something with that. I don't think Daniel Bryan's just going to go nowhere now, but I don't know exactly where to send him from here. But I liked it. I enjoyed this match.
All right, Nate, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I definitely liked how they. You almost thought that they had ended storylines with the beating of Daniel Bryan, but really when you look back, you see ones that even if they're only for Fastlane, like Kevin Owens and Jey Uso can continue. I think a Daniel Bryan Cesaro, since they started it, they could just do like, hey, we're just two badass dude expedition. What's the word? Exhibition. Yeah. Whether that makes it to the Mania or not, I mean, Daniel Bryan has to be in some sort of match. Like, that would be stupid and a waste of money on WWE's part. But it also sets up with Jay not finishing the deal, like Roman and being pissed at Jay. Like, there's the little stories that they've been doing, which is why SmackDown has been better lately to continue. And then, just the surprise of Edge. Even the little surprise of Daniel, like, reversing the spear, just still gave you that little shimmer of hope, which was, like, never going to happen, but, like, oh, damn. This one, like, without going in the other one, the second one was better structured and left storylines open to keep going. So it's kind of like almost like, other than obviously the we'll get to it, the big finish, this one should have gone last, really, because you still had that surprise at Edge, and they had the big fireworks too with it, like, but
yeah,
whatever.
I think, and we can give away spoilers of what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about it yet, but obviously Money in the Bank cash-in being the big surprise at the end, that one, and it's not just because of how I feel about The Miz. It is that in a normal year, I get why Money in the Bank, it's like, that's the finish. But I do think when you've already like lost the Money in the Bank, it was never his to begin with. When you add in all those ridiculous details of how they got to this point, Edge spearing Roman is the better finish to a show. So you're 100% right. Like, that's how they should have done that. I think the only thing that you're missing, and I don't think maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but I'm not sure they played it up. It was that they finished the match, and then it's almost like a surprise that Daniel Bryan has to immediately face Roman Reigns. And so that's probably the only thing you lose at the end. Yeah, that's probably the only thing you lose is if that's the second to last match, it becomes pretty obvious. Oh, yeah, Daniel Bryan has to do that really fast. Other than that, though, I think the moment of Edge spear and Roman would have been a better cap to the show.
They needed the Bobby Lashley story of losing his title too. So, like, if anything, that should have probably gone on first. Like, I don't know. There was only 4 matches technically, so like they didn't really have a lot of options. But I feel like it was the better end to the matches all of them.
Yeah, I think technically it's 5 because it's 2 Elimination Chambers, Roman defending against Daniel Bryan, women's match. So
tag team, yeah.
So and then you add in Bobby Lashley
and the triple
5.
threat.
Yeah. So since we brought it up, I'll say that's another thing I've enjoyed. I think that the fact that they've kind of kept everything in the pocket. Do I wish they had a few more matches that were AEW or NXT level 5-star matches? Sure. But Vince is never going to set up a pay-per-view to have matches that play out that way. It's going to be more likely you have a champagne bottle get in the middle of a match. I don't know. Maybe that happened. We might talk about that later in the show. But I think definitely it has. WWE pay-per-views have benefited from keeping it shorter, tighter, and they haven't always just been 5 matches. I'd rather them be 5 matches. Some of them will get to like 6 or 7, but they'll be just as kind of tight as this one was, not be the longest things ever. I think those are the 2 benefits. Keep it like NXT was doing there for years. 2.5 hours and, maybe 5 matches, but 4 is fine as long as they're 4 really good matches. But this one, I can't complain about that. I think the flow of the pay-per-view was good. I guess the problem being, I don't know if the matches were all that great. I think there were parts of both chambers that really worked well. There were also some parts that kind of dragged on for a while. In the first one, I think the setup with Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, okay, that's pretty solid, but I think otherwise
It was a
I
long
didn't
time
care
before
about
the.
much else going on though.
I feel like the timing of like the countdown, I even started to wonder, like, especially with Daniel Bryan and Cesaro, I was like, how long is it before the next person comes in? Like, I feel like those were the second one. I feel like was a little more consistent, partly because they just ripped the door off and AJ came in when he wanted, but
It helped.
it seemed a little more timed out, right? Which I've always heard, like a Royal Rumble, like you can actually time it and it's terrible. Like some people it's a minute and some people it's 5 minutes before they come in, but
Yeah, it's not very accurate, and I'm never concerned with how long it takes. Like I'm not trying to make sure that in kayfabe they kept it to the right intervals. It's just more of the flow of the match, and I'm trying to think of who I feel like, and I don't want to pick on Sheamus, but in the second match, he definitely was the only part of that one that kind of felt slow. There were moments where I think it was is he battling off with Kofi? That may be a spot where I was just very confused by why they had no chemistry in the ring. I think it was Kofi. He was trying to like Irish whip him across the ring for Kofi to like slide out underneath the rope. And it just looked like Sheamus had never spoken with Kofi Kingston before. And I know that's not the case, but it was just a very slow part of that match. But everything else worked really great. In the first one, I don't know. I'm not liking what Sami Zayn's doing. I think early on, I like the idea. I like him growing out his beard and looking as disgusting as possible. I like the fact that even though he knew Vince would only let him be a heel as this woke character, that he still sold it to high heaven. But the further it gets, the less I think it helps anybody do anything in the ring. I don't think it's helping Kevin Owens. I don't think it's helping, Daniel Bryan, anybody else he came in contact with in that match. Sami Zayn, where normally he can add a lot to a match like this because he can just take some hella bumps. He can do some pretty cool moves than everybody else. I feel like his character now has just gotten to the point I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I've liked the stuff that he's doing, but I think it's just because I like Sami Zayn. I don't think that it's necessarily great writing. I'm gonna kind of just try to enjoy any time that he's on screen and just be happy he's there. But yeah, it's kind of just wearing out, and I don't know where it goes to get better. And like, at what point do you eventually turn him back around, making babyface? I mean, it's something that his matches are better when he's wrestling as a babyface than a heel, because he, is a very exciting wrestler. But a lot of times it's with Vince's heels, you don't see a ton of excitement. You don't want crowds to be popping for the bad guy in his eyes. So,
right. I think I kind of agree with both of you that it's like had a trajectory down. I think, especially when he was doing it with Cesaro and Shinsuke with a stable, it kind of works to be this like, come on, don't you guys agree with me? And now that it's just him on his own, it's like, no, nobody agrees with you because no one's even following you. So, and it sucks because like he's already taken a lot of time off. Like, I mean, he did during the pandemic and stuff to like have people excited when he comes back. I mean, like if he came back with like that music he had in NXT that was really exciting, could make a pop, and then yeah, but I don't think Vince sees anything in him to ever see it.
Yeah, I think Vince probably enjoys the more comedic elements of what he's doing right now, but that also doesn't lead to anything. That's probably the big problem. I think Ethan mentioned writing earlier, and I don't even think it's writing because I think a lot of the stuff Sami's saying is his own stuff. It just doesn't fit into a story, and that's probably where the group angle did work. It did fit into a story. It was these two guys with him, and yeah, it legitimized it more. It helped, it's weird because I think it's the opposite for somebody like The Miz. I think generally having a chicken shit heel, it helps to have people with you. But The Miz has been worse with John Morrison next to him, while Sami Zayn, is trying to do all the talking. He was much better where he had two, goons with him to take people on. And it's weird how, I mean, I don't think I could have told you that beforehand, where a lot of things we say the WWE misses and it's easy to figure out. I don't think I could have told you before watching these last 2 runs that it was like, oh yeah, for sure. Never give anybody with the Miz unless it's Maurice, and never have Sami Zayn alone because it just doesn't quite work out. I don't think I could have told you that now, but now it seems to me like you could probably make it work, but not in the way Vince sees characters. Like in those roles, it probably should be the opposite. Like if Miz is gonna really be a champion and have any sort of run, it's gonna suck, but it'll suck less if you get John Morrison out of the way. That's my hottest take, and it's not even a hot take. That's all I have right now. Is there anything else from the first chamber match that really stood out? For me, I just want to talk about Roman Reigns as fast as possible. So I'll give you guys 1 second to hit anything else for chamber, and then I'll talk about the Roman Daniel Bryan.
I'm good. Go for it.
Yeah.
So I thought with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, as much as I started earlier, I really was not happy with the idea of just sacrificing Daniel Bryan. I thought, if anything, it would actually make more sense to sacrifice Cesaro. We were talking about the big build and, how much this could get him out of the mid card, or at least be the top of the mid card rather than just kind of rambling, going around and having nothing to do since the end of his tag team with Sheamus. But if you have Cesaro win and he's sacrificed to Roman Reigns, it's not the same heat that Roman used to give to people when he beat them, when he was the face, and fans were pissed that Vince was always shoving him down the throat. But even as a heel, I think when you have a moment where everybody is saying, they want Cesaro to get an opportunity, they don't understand why Vince is overlooking him, and you've built him up to this moment, let him win and let him immediately get taken down by Cesaro. I think that would have been a great moment for him, and it's something to play off of because it's almost not even a real loss. It's something Roman gets to say he has over Cesaro, but Cesaro doesn't have to take lose any points with the fans or with in kayfabe, because it's not really losing when you went through an entire Elimination Chamber match and the champion immediately gets to crush you. So right. I think that would have been perfect. And the only thing is, I don't know if that plays out as well for the pay-per-view. If you're going in the moment, I think what they did was perfect, because Daniel Bryan with, reversing the spear to put him into the yes lock, or whatever the hell he's calling it now, to do that, like, it looked great. And Roman looked amazing when he reverses it and just starts forearming the shit out of Daniel Bryan. It all looked good for everybody, and you knew Daniel Bryan could do that. Daniel Bryan has done that all the time. And so I think for the moment, like, that's the best case scenario. They played it out as good as they could. So I don't want to complain looking at big picture booking, but I do think long term it would have made more sense to let Cesaro win and just immediately get taken down by Roman. And then I don't think it matters whoever the hell it was, that Edge is the one who comes out right after and spears out. Good camera work. And I don't say that about WWE very often, but good work having Paul Heyman turn the other way and Edge being in the ring for a while to get a perfectly timed spear and to have it look like it came out of nowhere, even though he was probably in the ring for like 2 minutes. But good camera work. Well done with that. I just think long-term, Cesaro could have benefited. Hard to complain, though, when it was as good as it could be. That was a great start to an Elimination Chamber. I'm going to have a lot more nits to pick as we start moving to the rest of the card. You guys have any other takeaways for?
I get the point of the Cesaro. It's just they've never pushed him, and so to all of a sudden do it now, but then to have him lose would just look more like Cesaro is given nothing.
Yeah, but, I mean, I guess that's fair. I
would have loved to see him. I think I still would have been in your shoes of like, hell yeah, Cesaro won, all right, and he's gonna get his ass kicked now. But out of the two baby faces, Bryan's always gonna be like the higher baby face if there's a ranking to them. I don't know. Which
is why I normally think that you sacrifice the lower baby face is what the normal play would be in that moment. I think with Cesaro, I would agree with you. Like it would hurt it would just be another like note in Cesaro not getting a chance if you don't do anything post him getting beat by Roman, you know? But I think if he looks powerful to finish that match and then is just losing because, you shouldn't be expected to beat somebody right after that hellacious match. I think there's a way to tell that story and then to build that into a pretty big WrestleMania moment. But he has to win. I don't care who the hell he's facing at WrestleMania. He has to win that. Otherwise, we just look back on it as this kind of, you just pretended you cared about Cesaro for a second. But I'd still like to see it. And I like to see where they're going. I'll give them a shot, but it's hard to imagine Vince ever letting Cesaro do anything that matters. He's just going to be kept in that lane. He's got the mark of a good hand, and that means he's never going to be allowed to do any, even a short run at the top. And that's kind of why I looked at this one, like the comparisons back to Kofi. I would have said the same thing about Kofi until they gave him the championship, and so that could be the moment instead where you were kind of building it up. You were trying to tell a similar story to have him just lose late. Yeah, he looked good, but it's still a very likely scenario that he's just misused again over the next couple months. It doesn't even get a big WrestleMania moment out of it. So we'll see what happens as we go down
Daniel at like Mania. Him and
let him win. Let him get that big win over him.
It could be a Macho Man like Steamboat like reverse for 15 minutes. Be hot.
I'd enjoy it, definitely. Triple threat match one. I didn't really watch enough of the shows going in to really know the setup, although I know it was originally supposed to be Keith Lee instead of John Morrison, which makes a lot of sense. As I look at that match, I'm like, I don't give a shit about that match. And then I imagine if it was Keith Lee there, I'm like, I'd want to watch that match. That's what can happen. Kayfabe injury, but I'm hearing that it was probably actually an injury for Keith Lee that led to them making that late change. But I haven't seen any official word yet.
What?
I thought he was a COVID scratch. I mean, it might have been.
Was it?
I thought so too, but
I saw like nothing until I just looked the other day and I saw somebody was reporting that it might have been an injury. But considering wrestling journalism, that easily could have been a mistaken like COVID scratch that they got the wrong word and said it was an injury. So either way, he's not in it. And I thought they did fine. I thought there was a lot of decently cool moments for this match, considering I just can't begin to care about John Morrison. With Matt Riddle, it's hard. Did they get rid of his first name? Is he just Riddle now?
Yeah.
They got rid of it.
Which definitely takes a lot out of it. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what he does with the title. I think that looking at, the big picture of how they're trying to obviously, they want Bobby Lashley and who got his name back, got his first name back. I think they traded. Deal.
I thought it was just make him Riddle so he can face Goldberg.
I don't fucking know. But yeah, just see whatever he does with the U.S. title and moving Bobby Lashley to the main event. All in all, like, I see why they're doing that. Like you said, Morrison, I'd rather watch him in NXT than anything. I think that he's a guy that can put on really fun matches with the right people, but is getting, is just limited in what they can do with him on Raw. But yeah, I also gotta admit I had this one on at the bar when I was working and I was closing down at this point because we were only open for the afternoon on Sunday. So I'm only kind of halfway watched this one. So I don't have the best opinion on how the actual finish went.
Yeah, I was barely paying attention by then. The only thing I know for sure was John Morrison ended up being the one that lost. So Bobby Lashley gets to pretend, it's like he can go right to the main event and not be ridiculous that he, lost the mid-card belt and gets to jump straight up to the top. There was a cool moment where Bobby Lashley catches Riddle and Riddle did an amazing job of selling when he gets suplexed over the top of Lashley, hits the ground, and just immediately does this like like face. So that was solid. Nothing else really stood out from the match. I think MVP on the side with the crutches. Good trash talk from MVP, but like it might have been like a B plus. And then John Morrison's trash talk back was like a straight F. So that was, I'm going to put in the negative category. And then, yeah, they kind of lost me at that point. So all I know is give Riddle the victory. I'd watch a Riddle versus Goldberg United States Championship match at WrestleMania as long as Riddle gets the win.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but that would never happen.
I know. Riddle is how Goldberg picks up steam, so he's legitimate for the next match he has to do against an up-and-comer. Like, that's the way Vince's mind works.
My takeaway was this match is it was just meant to show Bobby Lashley being the biggest badass ever. And I think they did a good job of that, because really, even at points when Riddle and John Morrison, like, all right, let's work together, Bobby fought out of it. And so, and like really, it was a screwy finish because they used the crutch over Lashley's back to then get the finish. So, it left him looking great while then like having a screwy finish. And I think it'll be intriguing. I mean, the matches in NXT were pretty good, and it kind of opens up just anything for that title to do. I just don't know who, like, as much as like I get it, it's bro, like Vince has just made it annoying. Like,
who would have guessed?
Yeah, it's like we get it that he's supposed to kind of be a pothead, but like Vince is like, I want you to be like Cheech and Chong pothead, just like go even further. And he's like, okay, instead of being like, you remember when he actually was like a badass MMA fighter? Why don't we keep some of that still in while being this like fun-loving dude? But nope. So
nope.
Yeah, the match ending didn't really matter. It was, for me, it was just get Bobby Lashley look like a badass to then move on and be able to move on without being like, how dare these guys take this title from me, because he was able to move on to the next title.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say for Riddle, like that was the best part of him in NXT was he starts out with that bro-tastic attitude. Somebody does something either, in the match or sometimes him just losing. I think one of the moments that I thought Riddle had a real shot of doing something big was the first time he lost, and you just see the rage in his face. And it's like that duality is the best part about Matt Riddle. It's like he's so calm, he's bro, he's just smoked out of his mind. But the moment he gets angry, it's like that's the guy. And that turn, that Jekyll and Hyde moment for Matt Riddle. Yeah. That's some of the. I was super excited when I saw that, and the fact that you get enough of it in NXT. I don't think it was quite done to a big moment because they pulled him for the main brand before he ever got a main event run in NXT. So I was wondering where that could go, and we never got to see it, and we'll probably never get to see it with him on the main brand.
If anything, it almost would work better as a heel, because you could be a dick bro. Like,
yeah, I think it's a slow transition. I think it's like, and that's what I was waiting for in NXT was like, he's a face. I'm waiting for the moment where he's no longer just angry after a match and then like still does the handshake. Like I'm waiting for the moment he beats the shit out of somebody because he can't live with the fact he lost. Like that's the one I wanted. We never quite got there. And then, now he's just to Vince's version of the bro gimmick. And it was funny because people said, oh, Vince won't get it. It's like, well, yeah, but like, he's not going to get it in a way that is like, he's going to put him into a comedic role. Not like he's going to be like, I don't know what this is, get him off my television. It's worse, because at least you could recharge and try to find something different if you just didn't care at all. Instead, he's going to keep him out there because he finds him funny, just in all the wrong ways and in ways that don't help anybody rise up. Don't help Matt Riddle rise up to something bigger. Doesn't help Matt Riddle get anybody over. and now he's just another guy, which it's like he's not even that charismatic, like, or at least not the parts that they're letting him do. He's more charismatic in the back talking shit than he is on the mic. So I don't understand why Vince is so infatuated with him, but he likes him just enough to keep him in the wrong position in the company. So going on to the women's match, since there's not many other ones. This one was interesting. First thing I want to ask, since you guys very negative on the matching up just random single superstars, how do you feel about it in this situation where it's Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks? And I think a lot of us are, looked at it as teaming them up for this match because you were going to have, those two face off, at WrestleMania. So this is a good, forced tag team, forced pairing that was clearly going to blow up very fast. Do you guys feel any differently when that's the situation versus the regular way it's done, like the team that they went up against, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler?
I don't really care either way. It didn't really do much for. I mean, I like, yes, the idea of it being it's going to blow up, but if it's going to blow up 4 weeks, then I can't get that invested in the team. Watching Sasha and Bianca wrestle as a tag team was all right. It was kind of awkward at times where it wasn't like tag team ring psychology, because I mean they're not a tag team, and that's one of the things that you see go out the window when you're just mashing up singles stars, where rather than working an opponent down, working it back towards your corner, they were just kind of like taking breaks and running back to the corner, making tags, running in. Like there wasn't it didn't have a tag team element feel to it. I also don't really care about the team of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler either. So this was a match that I watched, but it's kind of like back in high school, and you'd be reading for homework, and you'd read an entire 3 pages and then just kind of come to and realize that I didn't retain or pay attention to anything. I was just kind of, my eyes were on it, but I wasn't really invested. So that was my takeaway from the match. Was I don't have much of a takeaway.
Solid. Nate, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah. I honestly, I was just waiting for it to be over to see who turned on who.
Right.
Because really, the fact that I knew on Raw, not that I give a shit about them, but wasn't it Lana and Naomi have a title shot? There's so many other teams on Raw that have title shots to all of a sudden be like, oh, we're giving it here. That probably makes me more annoyed than even just we're going to randomly pair you. But I really was fantasy booking myself into going all right, one of them's going to turn. And I mean, it could still have, even with how it finished, could have gone either way. But instead, no, we're still sisters. And it's nah, both of you can be amazing heels and none of you pulled the trigger. Damn. All right, I guess we'll wait till Fastlane for them to do something, or because I'm just
yeah. And I almost think if you're gonna do it and you don't do it during this match, you need them to win. You need them to get the belts. You need them to go on to Fastlane, face is it Raquel Gonzalez and
they have one too.
With right now, who's she with right now?
The little one. Oh, Kota Kai. Yeah, they won that, didn't they? Yeah.
So you have those two. You have those face off. One has the potential to be a really great match. You let that other team win and maybe be double tag champs or whatever. If you're doing NXT versus the women's. I don't even know what words they use to differentiate. It's just women's championships, and then whatever the fuck's happened on NXT is lesser than But
right now NXT it's just the Dusty Rhodes Classic champs, and so that's how they got their shot.
They're just called the Dusty Rhodes titles down there. Champs, or are they just Dusty Rhodes tournament winners?
No, it's
winners. Just... Yeah, there's no championship. I guess there's a trophy, but
okay. Well, then it's they they would win and be able to be the best tag team to go up against them, and I can imagine a Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler versus Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez match that's good. Without a doubt, it would be better to have Bianca and Sasha. And then, yeah, that is their one big match at Fastlane. They lose the belts from one turning on the other. And that's just I feel like that's probably the best story that could have been told. Once again, not judging this match from the bigger picture fantasy booking, but just from watching, nothing really happened that I was excited about. But I also, just like Ethan, did not retain very much of it. So when I was listening to Busted Open Radio and Bubba Ray went into very specifically detailing that he thinks Nia Jax needs to get some more training down at NXT, I couldn't even get enough to get the specifics to know if I wanted to argue against it. But Bubba Ray knows more than I do. I won't accept it with. Say what?
She's not the one who kicked out Asuka's teeth on Monday, though.
Yeah, that team's a fucking nightmare right now. What the fuck?
I trust that Shayna Baszler doing it is. I've seen her do enough cool shit without screwing up.
More of
I will. Yeah. I was just gonna say for Nia Jax, it's less about who she's injured and more that if Bubba Ray's saying she's not willing to take a punch correctly and she needs to get the basics there, I'm willing to trust Bubba Ray. I don't care when Ethan says it, but when Bubba Ray says it, I listen a bit. So right now, I do have some questions about Nia Jax's competency in the ring.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it and see how much Bubba Ray and I line up on what you said and how wrong you really are. But
his was mostly about her taking punches. It was that she's not opening herself up, so she's either scared of getting hit or she just doesn't care if it looks right. And there's a chance that it's like a Vince thing where it's like, don't let yourself look weak by taking hits. But if you don't teach her how to do that in a cool way, then it just makes the match look awkward. So that could be a part of it.
I feel like Nia Jax has been trained like the Big Show was in WCW. Like they just like, oh, we're gonna make money off her because she's big, but then you turn around and you're like, oh wait, you can't actually work. Like she needs an Undertaker to like, no, come on. You gotta.
I feel like though Ethan wants to make the argument that Nia Jax is like Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone being trained out in WCW. Like that's where Ethan's at on the Nia hate.
No, because I would rather watch a Karl Malone Dennis Rodman match right now than a You put it on the table, man. You put that offer on the table. I'm gonna take a bite. Especially Dennis Rodman now. I'd be okay watching that guy in a match.
Okay, sure.
Rodman versus book it.
All right. So the point being that she might have some stuff to work on, and then with Shayna having a little snafu, maybe get the belts off them. Maybe you should have already done that on Sunday, and then Asuka would still have teeth on Monday. So yeah,
she's not gonna be able to hold her mask in because she can't bite it.
So I not a lot good to take away from there, and nope. I don't know what the next plan is. I'll give them time. I'll let them see when the turn is for Bianca and Sasha. But there's no way it could have been better than just having them win the belts and then lose the belts at the next pay-per-view due to one turning on the other. Like that and specifically like turning, not like screwing up and the other one gets pinned, but like straight up knocking the other one out so they eat the pin and give the belts to the other side. Like that's how it should have played out at Fastlane. And I don't think there's a better version, but I'll see. I'll see if Vince can prove us wrong ever. Elimination Chamber with Drew McIntyre, WWE Championship. This was a one I really wish I had watched a little bit going in, but it's like I don't know why Jeff Hardy's there. I get why Sheamus is there, but once again, like as the only one who kind of slowed down the match, and like I feel like they're just ruining that story. And I don't know when they started saying that it's like Sheamus is the Celtic Warrior, and then Drew McIntyre is now the Scottish Warrior instead of the Scottish Psychopath. I'm like, God damn it, Michael Cole, you ruined everything. I enjoyed where Kofi talking shit. I enjoyed Kofi getting the win over Randy Orton to eliminate him, and then Randy Orton just going crazy and RKOing him and Jeff Hardy. I like that AJ Styles immediately found that as an opportunity to let Omos or whatever his name is rip the door off and let him in. The match really picked up from there. I think in the early going, I don't know. I didn't like it maybe as much as Nate was describing as it having, less lulls. I think early on, I didn't care about what was happening. And then the further it went, I think it really picked up and was a good finish. A little awkward on the Claymore, delivered perfectly, but like they pinned, like Drew McIntyre pinned AJ Styles so fast. I just felt like something else had to have happened, Like they should have sold that a little bit longer. But that's a tiny nitpick. But the finish of the match, I thought they really shot through and did amazing work, and something so good that it could only be ruined by the Miz. Ethan, what did you think of the finish of the match?
It's probably my favorite counter to a phenomenal forearm that I've seen because it looked like it fucking killed. Match as a whole, I mean, I think the only real through line they had was the whole everyone in this match has been a WWE champion previously. And I think, had everyone been in an Elimination Chamber match before that?
At least one.
I think
no,
so.
they might have all been in there. I think maybe the first match there was at least Kevin Owens had, and that was the one that surprised me. So yeah, I think everybody in the second one and in one.
So, yeah, I mean, it kind of it made sense as the fact that I thought if the belt was gonna come off during that match, I figured it would have been AJ. Usually, and probably with some interference, but no, I mean, I think especially for it being, kind of one thing together, like it's hard to separate the match from the aftermath of the match because I consider that a part of the same, like just watching one without the other doesn't really make sense. I think it all worked well. I thought that, I don't know. I was hoping there'd be some kind of maybe this is where you get an even closer hint towards like a Fiend return, but I know we've still got some time before Mania. So
the only way the Fiend returns would have been Randy Orton winning the belt, and that's the last thing I want for that rivalry is them to go into WrestleMania fighting over a title.
Yeah, that would be awful. My thought was just, it's like it ties into the through line of Orton and Bray Wyatt, of that being the match that Bray Wyatt won his first title in, where that was kind of the beginning of the end of their, alliance. But it wasn't necessary. It would have just been a fun, add-on, but it would have definitely not worked with the aftermath of the match the way it went. I don't think you can have both of those things happening in that same 20-minute time frame. I mean, it would just seem like a lot altogether. But then, yeah, the Bobby Lashley coming out destroys Drew, and then you get a Miz cash in. I mean, I don't know if it was the last episode or one of the last couple episodes. I'm at this point, I'm not really thrilled for a Miz title win, other than the fact that it just kills Wade to know that Miz is a champion. That was pretty much my most positive takeaway, is just knowing Wade's reaction. And I'm really upset that he dipped out and avoided this episode like a little bitch, but that's fine. But like I said, what I was saying is, I'd rather Miz be champion than another, bungled attempt at a cash in. Like, I feel like they just haven't done a proper cash in since I think 2016, 15, whenever Ambrose was. And not that all of those were bad, but just it's just stupid to see something that's supposed to be a guarantee and should be a really exciting moment just get flushed down the toilet year after year. So, as it all ties together, I'm good with it.
Yeah. So, and this might seem counterintuitive, but I would rather that outcome just happen at WrestleMania. Like, let Drew go the entire time, full calendar year, go through something crazy. Miz cashes in and cheats to get it off. So at the very least, I know that the start of the new year is like Drew going back to like, now I'm chasing down the Miz and going to beat that, little chicken shit and get my belt back. I'd rather do that. Now, I bet Wade would be the opposite and be like, no, don't ruin my WrestleMania with the Miz's bullshit. But like, just to do it at Elimination Chamber, to give the Miz the belt, and it's like, where are you going from here? Who is this going to help at all? Particularly on a Money in the Bank that should have been Otis's. Like, I just hate all of it. I don't think this is good for anybody. And I teased this when I was talking to Nate before we started. I finally saw the first moment of maybe Drew McIntyre isn't as great as I felt like he was, because as he's trying to sell just being too destroyed to start a new match, it was bad sell job that then leads into a kick to the leg where he falls down and then has whatever the hell the DDT is called when he's already on his knees. And all of that, like, it was just like, for a moment, I'm like, God damn it, Drew can't even like set that up. And you add in the Miz can't do a DDT that looks like it hurts anybody. Like, I hate it at all. Like, the Miz is so bad. Like, he looks like, you know, when people are like not athletic, but they get into running, and then all of a sudden they're like, I ran a marathon. You're like, wow, that you must have really got much more athletic since last time I tried you to do anything physically. And then you watch them run and they still look like idiots. They just can run a long ways. That's how the Miz wrestles. Like, he has improved leaps and bounds from when he started, but he still just looks like he has no idea how to move. He looks so awkward, particularly when you're in the ring with coordinated giants like Drew McIntyre. And that moment right there was just so awful, on top of the fact that I don't think it does anything for the setup to WrestleMania. And in the moment, I had to watch a shitty wrestler do a shitty move to a great champion and take the belt away from him. Not a good moment. And I knew it was happening. I couldn't do the Wade move and just back out like a little bitch. I had to watch it, but God, it was awful. So bad.
I mean, coming out of it, and I guess I also watched Monday. Really, the winner was Bobby. Bobby looked the baddest. Bobby looked the toughest. And, I mean, it's not a spoiler, but him and The Miz are going to wrestle on next Monday, and I would be very happy for him to take it off The Miz, and this is the setup to then get Drew and him back to WrestleMania. Because, I mean, they had their run, 10 months ago. It was all right, but really, if they just repeated it, it wouldn't have been as good. So they needed to get it off somebody so that those two can go back at it. So in that, the somewhat long-term storytelling was good, but in the moment, no, it was like, this is annoying. And I mean, the little giveaway of Miz talking to MVP backstage for just a little bit. You didn't know what they were talking about, but it was like, okay, this is going down. Like, it was telegraphed a lot. But that's just the end. For the match, yeah, again, I agree that I thought the Fiend was going to show up, or maybe Alexa Bliss. They could have easily had her pop up in a pod and then freak him out, and he still could have gone out first, but they didn't give me any more story. And Jeff Hardy had no story. Sheamus looked stupid because he came in last and still couldn't finish the job. And I don't know. I want to see when is Almost going to start wrestling. Like, I think they should switch it. Almost should be the fighter, and AJ should be the bodyguard talker. But that's the most I got out of that, because ripping that panel off was fun. That made me excited.
Yeah. So I've fought. We've had many podcasts where Wade said you could never do the reverse bodyguard gimmick, and I fought him. I can't go as far as to say I want AJ Styles to be the bodyguard for this huge giant. Well, I don't think I can go that far, man.
He could be the talking piece, and then it would, like, if he would like cheat, it would seem the most legit cheating. It ain't Bruce Pritchard with it, like, on the side. You know what I mean? Like, there's been so many managers that you're just like, did you even hit him? And at least with AJ, you could be like, he actually like gave him a flying forearm for him to win the match and make it believable and talk better than half of them do as well.
First of all, I'm going to say Paul Heyman doesn't hit a flying forearm by choice. but I would pay to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the way they're doing it. And also, I don't know if I agree that Sheamus looks like, worse for being the last one in and losing. I also thought that was a great spot that I was just reminded of when you made that statement when Sheamus gets eliminated and Drew McIntyre thinks he's going to get the Claymore, but instead Sheamus gets the brogue kick. And then that immediately could have been a moment to pin Drew, but instead AJ Styles hits him with the phenomenal forearm. One timed perfectly, good counters for each one. And then it's also almost like AJ Styles sealed his own fate. Because if even in that moment, you hit Sheamus with it, but you pin Drew McIntyre, there's a different champion. But instead, he pins Sheamus first and then can't get the advantage onto Drew McIntyre. So he kind of set himself up to lose there. I think all of that played out really, really well. And I don't think just because you came in last, you end up, looking like a fool. I think the only way to look like a fool is to be like Jeff Hardy, where we're just like, why are you here? And I generally like Jeff Hardy being thrown in like an Elimination Chamber match. Let him do some crazy shit. He didn't do anything in this match.
He
was just there.
Shit. No.
So I don't understand that. I think wasn't it Sheamus that tried to frame him for drunk driving or whatever?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell from the match. I couldn't tell from the match that those two had any beef in the last calendar year. There was just nothing that made sense for Jeff Hardy to be there. I think Kofi did a good enough job with Randy, but maybe not really anybody else. So yeah, I definitely the early parts of the match, they could have given me a few more through lines, but they finished strong. And the only one, like I said, Miz, I'm not going to rehash it, but it was awful. And I don't think that I want Bobby Lashley to face Drew McIntyre, but I don't think Miz has to be involved. I don't think that matters. And I'm just excited to see them go at it again because their last big match, I thought that was the best match from Bobby Lashley I've seen in his entire career. And I've even took the time to watch. I wouldn't watch the whole show, but I watched a couple Bobby Lashley Moose matches from Impact. So I've seen his better work. But honestly, that match with Drew McIntyre was pretty good, and they didn't actually do very much to build it up very well. So I'm excited to see now if you're setting up a WrestleMania match. I think there's a lot you can do there, particularly because normally you'd be like, oh, Drew McIntyre versus The Miz, Drew's going to win. If it's Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley, I could perfectly see giving it to Bobby, being that the way out of Drew McIntyre having the belt for now he's chasing, and eventually setting that up for a Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar championship match at SummerSlam. I can see the next steps for Vince, and at least in that path,
yes.
I'm not upset by it. I would be fine with them doing something along that line. And I think that Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley can have a Haas battle at WrestleMania that's actually really, really good. So I'm fine with that. I just don't think The Miz has to be involved, and I'm annoyed by it, to be quite honest with you.
And I feel like this, would also be, I'm not ruling out an opportunity for Drew to, get the belt back and go out and run with the belt too. It being something where, this is the guy gets cheated out of his belt. This is the Stone Cold Steve Austin opportunity that he could, have that just being enraged backstage, get that shot in the parking lot of him screeching tires, hops out of a fucking, vehicle, runs down, just lays waste to everybody. Because that is kind of the thing that Drew's been missing since he's been, babyface, is when he was a heel, he had that rage, that psychotic rage, or if he's stomping towards you, you're going to piss yourself. Because, kind of almost speaking from experience, I'm not going to go into detail, but I did get a little bit afraid of Drew McIntyre at an episode of Monday Night Raw. And I'll just kind of leave that as an ellipsis. But, I think that this is an opportunity for him to take his face character to another level, to be, more of almost like an anti-hero, or even like a tweener, where he's not just clean cut white meat baby face, where he's just soft spoken and smiling all the time. I want enraged Drew McIntyre. That's the best gear for McIntyre. And I think if they pull the trigger on that leading up to Mania, and he's chasing it all the way to Mania and gets it back, I think that's a big, refresher for his run and his push from where he is right now.
I will say for Drew McIntyre, one of the great moments from his heel run was when he took on Kurt Angle in that retirement angle. And that was a great match. Not one that's like a 5-star match, but it's like, that's good storytelling in the ring. And if Drew McIntyre had that with The Miz and ended the Miz's career that way, yeah, I'd love it. That'd be a great way to take this angle. In terms of your pitch for doing the Stone Cold route, I'm just going to guess. We did watch Raw. Nate did. Was there any screechy tires and Stone Cold-esque backstage antics from Drew McIntyre?
No, he wasn't even there.
Wasn't there.
Great.
He
fucking great.
Bobby
had the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, Miz came out right away, chicken shit winner, and then MVP and Bobby Lashley came out and were like, you owe me my match now. And he was like, I'll think about it. And then we had to wait an hour. They all came back out again. And so did Pierce and Shane McMahon for some reason. And then Braun Strowman came out going, I deserve a championship. And then and Strowman
most clarified for a title shot.
Yeah. So then they ended up being the main event. It was less than 10 minutes. Bobby basically destroyed him. Kicked out of a running power slam, proved more of a badass, and then Miz tried to sneak attack him and got destroyed. And that was it. No Drew at all. Which, I don't know. Give him a week or two off. Could continue to build to that showing up, screeching tires thing. So it's a bit of a pop of a surprise back, but
yeah, I guess you could have like next week Bobby Lashley versus The Miz for the title. Drew McIntyre comes in to knock out Bobby Lashley. Then it's a triple threat at Fastlane, and then the two of them at WrestleMania, which is, once again, that's the most coherent story. I don't want to really happen. I'd rather just get the belt back onto Bobby or Drew and then let them build up to a great WrestleMania match. But whatever. If we need a triple threat at Fastlane, that's like the old school. Was it triple threat at like No Way Out? Was that always before WrestleMania back in the day, back in the late 2000s or the early 2000s?
I think they did a triple threat most of the time.
They'd either do that or if it's Chris Benoit, it's a triple threat at WrestleMania because we can't just let him be in a singles match at WrestleMania. No. There's not a good answer. That's the worst part. There's ones I'd be fine with, but most of them are kind of lackluster. And that's kind of where we're at for that title, where otherwise, we mentioned in a lot of podcasts, Drew McIntyre was having an amazing title run considering he's doing this through a pandemic. And now they're getting to the end. And just as it's like, it's going to be WrestleMania and there's going to be some fans there, it's not going to be the normal spectacle. And now that they're like making me not care about Drew McIntyre's WrestleMania match, I don't know how you can fumble that. It seems, I do know how. It's The Miz and they did it. I just don't know why. And I don't know who that helped, why it happened. On the other side, Roman, I'm still 100% psyched for whatever they do. Like, we'd mentioned where it's kind of that short list of, superstars, the just huge matches that they could put on. But honestly, there's a handful of other guys where right now Roman's just at that point where, I'd love to watch it. And I don't care if he wins or loses. I want to see a really great match with whoever you can sign up. And it didn't need to be anybody else, but you put in Edge. And I believe from Edge's recent work, not just from, I know Ethan is an Edge mark, so he's going to be pretty excited about it. But just from what Edge has been able to do, he's been able to sell some things that otherwise Vince didn't write up too much. Just kind of let Edge tell the story with Randy Orton. Let, these things play out. And Edge nailed the promo, so I have to imagine he can bring the heat to set up I hate the idea of spear versus spear match. Like, I'm fine with two guys who have spear as a finisher facing each other. But I swear to God, if I hear spear versus spear like 30 times before WrestleMania, I'm going to be very upset.
It's going to happen.
I think that's the only thing I'm not excited about is that.
I agree. I think,
but other than that,
badasses.
And I think that, like you said, it's like Edge is creative enough to where I don't think that it's going to rely on spear versus spear. I think it might be mentioned, but I think that I'm excited to see the story ramp up between now and WrestleMania between those two, because I think there actually will be a story that ramps up and gets you more excited. So yeah, I'll be tuning into SmackDown more.
All right, so that's all we have for Elimination Chamber. Do you guys want to hit any quick notes on the last NXT pay-per-view / AEW happenings before we get on out of here?
Nothing really pops out at me that I need to talk about. I think look at that. We're right at an hour.
It's pretty crazy. I don't know how we
Barbed
pulled that off.
wire exploding match. That's all I gotta say.
That's a good point. I'm still trying to pull through the NXT card to grab whatever, but since I don't have anything to talk about the last one, I tried to watch it. There wasn't anything amazing that popped out. So AEW, Nate, give everybody the rundown in case we've missed AEW, which I have. All I saw was it on a wiki card. What the hell is happening with that stipulation?
I actually missed it. I just saw internet news reviews, but apparently John Moxley and Kenny Omega are going to do an exploding match similar to Terry Funk and Mick Foley back in Japan. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. I don't even know if it's going to be entertaining because some of that stuff's hard to watch. It can be entertaining, but somebody gets blown up. Like, what? So
yeah, I mean, I assume they're going to have much better FX teams. They're going to have more special effects than Mick Foley and Funk. So we'll see how they pull it off. I mean, to this point,
even just the barbed wire stuff.
Yeah, to this point, they've done some pretty great.
Yeah,
I'll let you go.
Okay. Well, it's just I don't know if they're gonna do the barbed wire ropes, because even was it Terry Funk Sabu? That's hard. That's who it was, right? Where he ripped his arm open
inside his elbow.
Yeah. And it's just I know it's pay-per-view, but there's a fine line where I was just okay, this is a bit much, you guys. So I don't know what their extreme is going to be.
As long as you can get it past the TNT people, I think anything goes.
Well, no, it's supposed to be at Revolution, so it is a pay-per-view.
Yeah, but TNT I think still owns Bleacher Report, and so I still think they have to answer to the higher, and particularly just because that's the product. That's the thing you're gonna have to sell the next night, and so they've kind of talked about it walking that fine line. But honestly, I think that's nonsense. I think as long as you're able to weekly not have an Attitude Era product where just that stuff's happening every Monday night or, in this case, every Wednesday night, right. I think it's easy to go pretty damn far on a pay-per-view and still be able to kind of tell your higher ups at TNT that it's we're not going to be showing this to the kids necessarily. And, as opposed to WWE Network where the kids, it's like any other subscription. Kids have access to WWE Network now. Obviously, they could go find some other stuff. You need some parental settings to stop them. But if they're watching a pay-per-view, which is what kids would do, easy for them to get access, so you can't do too many crazy things. These AEW pay-per-views are still $50-$60. Ethan can't afford it. We have to split the cost. We're going 30-30 to make sure we can watch it. So if a kid can get up $60, he deserves to watch an exploding barbed wire death match. And that's the strongest take I can have right now. Don't take that away from 10-year-old who robbed his mom's purse to pay for this pay-per-view. Let him watch it.
I mean, I'll try to illegally watch it on Daily Motion the next day too. So
I'll just send you the Bleacher Report login. So
perfect. But I mean, that's just the craziness that's happening over there. Yeah. And then Adam Page is in Dark Order. I just finally watched Being the Elite, so that's interesting.
Did they go as far to have him wear the Brody Lee attire, or is he just still the cowboy?
Yeah. This was. I mean, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. It was on Monday's episode on YouTube, and he was like, "All right, I'll join." I just don't know. Is he going to become the leader? Because now they don't have one. obviously. And not that they necessarily need one, but they kind of do. And it would make Adam elevate. You're the leader of this giant group. I don't know. Otherwise, he's just kind of leveled off.
I'd be fine with Adam Page sticking on his own and just working his way up to the top of the card, particularly as you're trying to figure out who the new champions are going to be. Like, I think there's, I'd be fine with an Adam Page versus John Moxley championship match, Adam Page versus Kenny Omega, whoever makes it out. Like, I felt like, and I haven't been watching the weekly, but since the last pay-per-view, I felt like Adam Page was on the right track. You kind of gave him a little dismissive tone there, Nate. Have you not been impressed with Adam Page's recent work?
I would say it comes down to storyline, which, like AEW supposedly has better storylines. They don't have a direction because he's not going for the championship. At one point, he was maybe going to team with Matt Hardy, but then he's back to tag teams. He's a solo star. So he's not going after TNT title. I don't think that they need more titles over there, but they need something to strive for, some tournament, something to put him back into. Because otherwise, after the Moxley Omega match, I don't know what's next for anybody. There's not really a next person. Everyone's playing in just little side storylines, not, hey, I'm here to be the face of the company.
So they're not building up to a Sting title run, is what you're telling me.
No, they're building up to a street fight for Sting. Unless that already happened.
Basically a number one. Yeah, no, that's supposed to be at this pay-per-view. I assumed he was going to eventually have to face Darby Allin, and then from there he was going to be number one contender. Is that not the path for Sting? I guess I'm lost. I thought that's where we were going with it.
It depends on. I think we're too young. I think my older brother maybe would be into it, but.
So here's the thing. We did a fun podcast, which we might start doing again now that football season's over. It was the Heroes and Heels series. We did deep dives onto specific wrestlers. One of them was Sting, and Wade loved Sting as a kid. He also, the older he got, the more he realized Sting was worthless. But us going back, we fell in love with Sting watching all the old stuff. As long as you don't watch promos, if you're just doing match deep dives, you're like, this Sting guy can go. You watch too many promos, you're like, this guy's not good. And that's kind of where it is.
Him versus Foley. Yeah. No, his old stuff, even when the Surfer match was, he was always the underdog and he knew how to just sell it right.
Yeah.
But
it was always good, man. But that's probably the biggest problem is his biggest attribute was how athletic he was. So why would I want to watch 60-year-old Sting who can't cut a promo, who at this point in the ring, Sting? He's probably going to get paralyzed. And God, I can hear Wade probably just his ears are burning. He probably cringed the moment you just said Joker Sting. That's it. He's so bad.
That's when I did watch Impact.
I prefer 1988 Behind the Bash Sting. That's the Sting I want to see. Coked up Sting.
Yeah. Woo.
Well, Sting also ruined Rick Rude's career, so I will never forgive him for that. And that means I don't want to watch some street fight. They were just fighting in Japan on an elevated platform, and he did a crossbody, and Rick Rude's back kind of bent over it, and that was the injury that took him out of wrestling. That AEW, the pay-per-views are always good no matter what's happening with the story. I like when they're doing a good job on the story, but a good kind of way to fix that if you're not putting things together is turn this into a super gimmick pay-per-view. Exploding barbed wire for the championship, AEW TNT title in a ladder match. You got that street fight we just talked about. I don't know what a big money match is, but sure. Winner receives the loser's 2021 first quarter earnings. very specific.
Who's in that?
That's the Adam Page Matt Hardy match. So apparently, if Adam Page wins, his bar tab is covered by Matt Hardy's first quarter 2021 earnings. Which honestly, the more I say it out loud, the more excited I get for it. The other ones are regular matches. We'll see what happens, but that's
Adam
a pretty
Page
top heavy card.
Walking around like Julian from Trailer Park Boys, I do enjoy that. Just walk around with a glass of whiskey nonstop. That's a good ass gimmick.
Yeah. No, the alcoholism is so good. I have enjoyed every moment of it, and I just want him to put a belt on him at some point. Like I want him to pretend there's going to be this moment of clarity where he's like, I can't win with how much I'm dependent on alcohol, but then instead it's like, never mind, keeps drinking, drinks more, wins the title, champion for like 6 months, just hung over every time and still finds a way to win matches. Like he's defending against like jobbers on Wednesday nights, just barely able to stand, but he still beats them. Like there's a lot of great stuff you can do with that. So I think at the very least, I know when you get to the pay-per-views, they'll do a really good job. So I like to see what they do, particularly with the video packages. Sometimes they have really bad build-ups that trick me. They do good enough video packages. And so I just wait. I just pretend like nothing bad has happened in AEW, watch a video package the night before, and I'm like, let's go. These are the best card I've ever seen. So no worries for AEW, but that's all we have for this one. We'll probably be back for, I assume it'll be the recap for Fastlane, or we'll just start a pod the moment Miz loses the belt. We can jump back on, talk about it again, revel in the universe being the order restored. But that's it. That's all we have for this episode of the Make It Mark Wrestling Show on the Tell Me More podcast. Later, Mark.